What is up, my hood rat friends? Welcome to the channel. If you're new, think about hitting that subscribe button so you can stay posted for some awesome Jeep content. I also have cool hot rod stuff, vintage Volkswagens with Subaru swaps. We got all types of stuff for all types of people. Today, we're going to be working on this Jeep JK. We have a 2011 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, and we have got a very common problem on this that I don't think a lot of people realize is a problem. Now, if you've got one of these rigs and you've got some big old 35-inch tires like this one does, a lot of times you're going to have off-road tires on it as well. And you're going to think, oh, well, it's normal for them to be a little noisy. The previous owner of this rig thought it was normal for it to be really loud. And I mean, to me, really, really loud. You drive down the road and you're like, rub, 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 rub. His thought process was, if you can have a conversation in the car, it's not that loud. And that is kind of true. And I'm going to show you why having big tires on cars that didn't come with them can usually lead to this issue. Let's dive into it. Guys, we're here on the front of the car, on the driver's front. And this issue is an issue that's only going to happen with the front axle. The front axle on a solid axle vehicle. If you look right here, we have a solid axle underneath this Jeep. Same thing with your full-size Dodge and Ford pickup trucks. You're going to have, in your F-250s, in your 2500s, you have your solid front axle underneath the car. They are what are usually plagued by this issue. And let me show you what I mean. So guys, if you look at this with me, we have got this pad and this pad right here. They are the same, but this one you can see is worn smooth. And this one up here has still some tread left in it. If we look across the tire and run our hand across it, you can see it. My fingers catch on it. It's cupped. As you go around this tire, it's doing the wompy, wavy, wiggly, diggly. And that's no good. And that is caused by something. Specifically caused by something on solid axle front vehicles. Let me show you what it is. So we're now on the inboard side of the wheel, and I'm going to push on the inside, and I'm going to have you guys watch. Right here. Watch this. This is the ball joint, the upper ball joint. And down here, if it's still in frame, down here we have the lower ball joint. Watch this upper one as I push the tire. That, guys, is the key to our tire issue. We have a worn ball joint. And putting big tires on these rigs that didn't come with them from the factory, they're not designed to handle the stresses of these much larger tires. This tire right here is a 35-inch tire. From the factory, these usually came with a tire that was about 31 to maybe 32 inches tall at max. That was the biggest one they put on. So to have that much more tire on there attributes to fatiguing those ball joints out a lot faster. So if you have weird wear on your tires, check that first. You can also go into an alignment shop and they'll be able to see if you've got, any other issues with your alignment that could be also attributing to that. Another key thing that can cause uneven tire wear like that is worn out shocks. That's something to look out for as well. If you're driving down the road and your car's bouncing like Uncle Buck's, you probably got bad shocks, and that could also cause the same kind of feathered cupped wear as well. So we're going to tear into this thing and we're going to show you how to fix this on a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon. This also applies to basically any of your Dana 30 and Dana 44 front axles on almost all of your Jeeps from about the 80s all the way up to probably the current model years. Is going to be very similar to this model year. Let's get in and show you how to tear this thing apart. First, we're going to take our wheel off. Now I'm going to end up putting this one on the rear to let it kind of wear out more evenly, and maybe do a couple of burnouts to really scrape all this unevenness off. Not really, but in all seriousness, if you rotate these to the back, after a couple thousand miles, you should start to get them to quiet out a little bit. In all honesty, this will probably be the last year that these tires get ran. I'll take this thing down to Sand Hollow and also be going to Moab this year, and that should probably do it for these tires. And then I'll move on to the next step, which might be 37s. So now you guys can see we got plenty of access to work on this ball joint assembly. We're going to be replacing both. Do them in pairs. Don't do just one side. If one side's worn out and the other isn't, that other side is definitely going to be on its way out pretty soon. They kind of wear in pairs. I have replaced them on the other side already, and those ones were just as bad as this. So don't cheap out. Do it once and do it right. Okay, next up, guys, we are going to work on taking our brakes off, and we are going to need a 13mm socket or wrench and a 21mm socket or wrench. We have our two 13s that hold the brake caliper onto the brake caliper bracket. Break those loose. Make sure to leave them both in before you break them loose. Don't take one all the way out and then break the next one. It'll act like a fulcrum and you'll just swing off. Another step that's important is to suspend this caliper up and out of the way with either a bungee cord or some baling wire. You don't want to put a lot of strain on this hose here. I'm just setting it right there. Next up, we're going to want to remove these two 21mm bolts. They should be in there pretty tight, so you might need a good breaker bar to do this. You can see I'm struggling with this short 1/2-inch ratchet right here. You can also at this time take this ABS sensor wire and just set it aside to give yourself more room to get to this one. Now your rotor will just slide right off of the hub. Now we've got tons of room to see what we're working with. Next up, guys, we're going to remove this ABS sensor right here and its corresponding harness, just to make sure that when we remove this wheel bearing assembly, we don't cause any damage to it. It's working right now. We don't have any ABS or wheel speed faults, so let's not damage it. We can remove this rubber connector from inside of here, set it aside. And then this guy right here is an H5. It's a hex. Slowly wiggle it up and out. With a little bit of finesse, you can take it right out of there. We're going to feed it out of the axle assembly and just set it up and out of the way. Okay, next on our list, we're going to take the tie rod end off right here at the knuckle so that it can come free from everything else and so that it gives us more room to work inside here and get to some of the other bolts. This is going to be a 21mm. I'm going to leave this bolt on by just a couple of threads because we're going to end up whacking this knuckle to jar the tie rod end out of it. It's a tapered fit and we want to make sure that we can kind of knock this loose. And guys, if you're hitting or prying or grinding or sanding, always wear safety glasses. I cannot tell you, I almost lost my eyesight in one eye. Didn't have it for about 2 days because of something I did. Don't be dumb. There it goes. Just a little bit of tap, tap, tappy, and it's right out. Now you can see this knuckle will turn a lot for us and kind of move out of the way, which is really nice, really convenient to be able to get to the remaining bolts we need to do. Here is one of the 13mm 12-point bolts we need to get to. We have one here, here, and here. So let's get our 13mm 12-point and break these loose. Oh, there we go. You can see I've turned this full extension to get leverage. If I had this half extended and I did it here, I would just end up pulling it in. So full extension made it nice. Just be careful you're not damaging your U-joints for your axle shaft. And I just got the back one as well. Now I'm only gonna undo these about maybe like 5 threads, 6 threads, because this, oh, hey, whoa, it's not. Man, speak of the devil. Guys, what I was trying to say is that I was going to leave these partially threaded so that I could hit them from the backside with a hammer to help drive this hub assembly out of the knuckle, because sometimes these get seized inside. Case in point, my passenger side, I had to wallop on this pretty good to get this to come out, but if you look at this side, it's actually already free. So my guess is maybe this side has been taken apart before, but thankfully for us, we're good to go. Plus, I also skipped a step that I need to show you on this other side. So on this front side, we still need to remove our axle nut that runs to our axle shaft. And this is going to be a 36 millimeter, I believe. And so I'm using a 36 millimeter socket right here. I don't know what its standard equivalent would be. It honestly feels like it has a little too much slack in it. Let me go see if I have a standard socket that will fit this. 1.5 inches, too big, and I'm sure 1.25 inches is going to be too small. So 36 mil it is, I guess. I don't have a ton of bigger standard size sockets, so we're just going to run this. Worked good on the other side. There it goes, just like that. Now I'm also going to push this. I'm going to put this back on a couple of threads and make sure I can push the axle shaft in independent of everything else. A couple of very light taps until I see it move. Yep, there we go. Take our nut off. And now if I take these bolts on the back side the rest of the way out, this knuckle should come off. There's our 3 bolts right there. They're in pretty good shape. I'm going to end up cleaning them up on the wire wheel to get these threads nice and clean before we put some Loctite on them. Bob's your aunt, Sam's your uncle. This thing should slide right out like that. Now guys, don't be dumb like me. I forgot to put this on last time and had to take it halfway apart again to put it in. Leave this on it like that so that when you go to put it on, just set it aside on the side of your box or your bench or whatever. Set it aside like this so that you know to put that back on. We're going to pull this axle shaft out. With this part right here, guys, you're going to want to make sure that your axle shaft is sitting level, that it's not cantilevered to one side. Sometimes if you've got a lift kit or your track bar isn't adjustable, it'll kind of hang your axle up when it's hanging at full droop, and it can let it lean to one side. You don't want to do that and pull the shaft out and then start losing your gear oil. In my instance, I'm not changing the gear oil at this time, and I don't want to necessarily lose any. You guys can see inside here that the fill plug puts the fluid level at about the bottom of that bolt, so about there. But if this was leaning this way slightly, it could pull out and come out this axle tube. Just something to keep mind of. If you're changing your gear oil, that doesn't matter. Let's pull the shaft out. Coming out. And there it is, ladies and gents. And let's look inside the tube and see if we've got any juice coming out with it. Nope. Looks good to me. With everything off, even with the wheel off, you can still see that that boot is wiggling in there. You can still see that play that this thing has. And you can hear it too. That, my friends, is no good. It's time to change. We're going to get in here. We're going to remove our cotter pins. This is an excellent time to use some side cutters or dikes. They work really well at taking cotter pins out. You straighten it out slightly and then grab it with your dikes and just wiggle side to side like this. And it pulls right out. Do that on this bottom one as well right here. Kind of snip them together and use the tail to hit it out slightly. And grab them with your dikes and roll it out. Our upper ball joint castle nut is a 22 millimeter. Guys, make sure when you take this off to remember to put this bracket back on and take note of which direction it goes. This taller side goes on the back and the shorter side goes on the front. Don't forget to put that back on like I did on the other side and then had to tear it back apart and do it again. On this lower one, guys, 30 millimeter, way too big, and 1 1/8 fits just right. So 1 1/8 on the bottom. I'm gonna leave this bottom one on by just a couple of threads to catch this knuckle as we push it down. Okay guys, we're gonna give it a couple of wraps on the knuckle to break it loose from these ball joint studs. I think we're off the upper. Yeah, you can see it. It pulls through now. That upper one's off. Now we just need to get off this lower. Now, that one I'm going to hit just right there. She's stubborn, guys. I'm going to get a pickle fork and put that in there. If anyone knows why these are called pickle forks, can you leave a note in the comments? I've always wondered that for like the last 15 years. I do like that they make this beautiful note. We're gonna get this guy and wedge him in here. Get a little tension on it, and then if you just wrap on this knuckle, you should free it loose. Or not. There it goes. Nice. Now you can see why I left that nut on, so this thing didn't just fall to the floor. There we go, guys. That knuckle's off. That's about the hardest part. This next part might be a little difficult if you haven't done it before, if you don't have the right tools. So let's get those special tools out right now. Before we take these out, I wanted to show you guys something. These upper ball joints on a lot of these applications for the Dana 30 and the Dana 44, this is completely normal for them to go up and down. If you look at the packaging on the new ones that I have, it actually says this is okay. They have a drawing and they show up and down is okay. That's normal. What's not normal is this. Side to side play like that. That is where we have a failed ball joint right there. This lower one is supposed to, it pivots. It's actually a ball and socket. If you look at it right here, you can see what I mean. That one's normal for that one to move in all directions. Up and down play is not normal for this one. I'm going to show you my ball joint kit. I bought this from Harbor Freight. I believe it's about $89 when it's not on sale. There's the tool number, MA10-1, and it comes with all that you see in here. This kit does okay on these Dana 30 and Dana 44 axles, but what you really need is a special adapter tool. Now this one is just the Chinese knockoff of an OTC tool. The part number for this is, here's the SKU number for it, and here's the pieces to it. And these little adapters here make this job much easier. They fit perfectly over some of the items in there, and they just all in all make that process a lot easier to do. So I have cleaned these up and lubricated them so that we know that thing will push through nice and easy. So let's get the tool and set it up and I'll show you how it works. So this top one is going to push up and out. So in order to do that, we need to make sure that we are pressing on this surface right here. When we're pushing it out, it doesn't matter if we damage anything coming out, as long as we don't damage the axle housing. So we're going to take this piece from our adapter that we bought off of whatever website we decided to get it from, or if you decided to buy the OTC one, take that piece of it, put it down here, and we'll take our cupped portion that has a little window in it, like that, and put it on top so that we can watch it come up. Then we'll take our tool and we'll slide it on here and unthread this so that it'll fit on top of the cup. And this is where it's going to suck a little bit, because if you guys can see, I don't know if it's in frame still. Oh no, this one's actually way better. This side's way better. You can see I've got tons of room up here to clear that. Pay no attention to my my coil. Pay no attention to that. You didn't see it. So you can see here we've got tons of room to access this. So as we crank on this, this whole assembly is going to want to turn this way. So just let it do it naturally at the beginning. So you're not trying to hold this while you crank on that. If you watch inside here, you'll see that thing slowly start to press up and out. Get the appropriate size socket for your tool. In my instance, it's a 22 millimeter. And start tightening the clamp. Oh, look at that. Coming right up and out. Very little effort. Very little effort to get this one out, guys. I think lubricating it helped a lot. Oh, there it goes. And then we'll take our tool back apart. Try not to drop everything. And there's the top one out. Not too bad, huh? There we go. Okay, this bottom one, this one is going to push out down. Top one went down and the bottom one goes down as well. Cup tool, again, with our window. Set it inside there and you'll see it fits entirely around that. I don't remember. I think this thing is deep enough so that doesn't bottom out. But if you look inside there, you can actually see where it made contact slightly. You'll take this piece to press it out and this piece down here to catch it. This one's going to want to rotate to the back, so we'll put it down. Okay, I'm slowly turning my ratchet. Let's see if that thing starts to push down. Oh, there. Wow. That scared me, guys. That was a big pop. I just hit a bunch of resistance and I'm not going to push past it because I know that I'm bottoming out on that thing. So I'll take this back off. This is where this tool isn't perfect. I bet you the OTC one would work better. It's not deep enough for this removal procedure right here, but we can overcome that. We'll take this thing apart. Ow. Take this apart and we will take our tool. We'll take our tool and a BFH and we'll see if we can massage this the rest of the way out. Just give it a couple of wraps. She doesn't really want to move. There we go. It's very close to coming out, so you're not damaging anything. When I'm hitting, I'm making sure I don't hit the sides of the axle tube housing. This really long extension is no longer an extension. I've hit it too much. I could go get another one for lifetime warranty, but I actually use it as a punch now. So stick this through and hit the rest of the way out. Boom! There we go. She's out. Now the next part I would do is just clean these out a little. Get a little bit of sandpaper, some light grit sandpaper, and just clean the bores. These don't look too bad. This one's a little more rusty. Okay guys, I'm using Precision ball joints. These are from O'Reilly's. I have a commercial account there and I get a good deal, and these are lifetime warranty. So if these crap out on me again, I get new ones for free. And they'll even pay me a labor claim if I have an invoice for it. If my shop invoices itself to do this job, I could get these for free and get 50 bucks an hour changing them, which isn't great, but it's not bad. Part number on this is right here. They are K3134, and this is the upper one I was talking about, the little tag that says it's okay for this to go in and out. That's normal. Don't freak out. A lot of people that review U-joints, we get them and they say, it's got tons of slop in it. It's like, yeah, no duh. It's supposed to do that. Here's my lower joint. This one it has a boot that comes with it. I took it off for installation. Part number is K3185. Also, lifetime warranty. So if you're putting these on your own car, they'll give you new ones for free down the road. They're going to be about between $260 to $350, $340, depending on what your account is and if you've got a commercial versus just a phone number account. But not a bad investment, huh? We'll see if they honor it, and we'll see how long they last. I'll be the guinea pig for you guys, and you can see if these end up working out for me. You can see I've cleaned these pretty well. I've ran some sandpaper through them, cleaned them with brake clean, and then blown that brake clean dry. You want these to be nice and dry, guys. You want to install these dry, dry, dry. Do not lubricate them. If they're hard to press in, that's because they need to be hard to press in. If they're lubricated and they go in easy, it means they could come out easy too. Don't lubricate. In this instance, guys, we have a grease zerk built into this that's flat. And it comes with a special tool to grease it. A little adapter for a needle adapter for your grease gun. You're going to want to position this in a way that you can get to it when it's in the car. So for us, it's going to point to the back tires. It's going to point to the back of the car so we can always get to it. This cupped adapter right here, you'll see it fits this perfectly. And it's also not completely flat. It's got an angle to it to make it easier to get this in. So you'll find the angle that works best with your tool and then run it through. Okay, you're going to start with the bottom one, guys. It's a lot easier to do it this way because the upper one we're going to install like this. So we don't need any room in here. But this lower one, we need to install like this to do it the easiest way, in my opinion. So you'll take the cup that doesn't have the window on it, and it's gonna sit on top, and your shaft is gonna sit inside of that. Then we'll take this guy. Remember, we put him in this little cup. Fits just perfectly. It doesn't contact that. It's only pressing on this outside lip right here. We'll set that in there. See if we can finagle this in here. Might have to go in with that first, position that backwards, rotate your cup where it feels like it's lining up good, and then start running the tool in. Kind of nice to have another set of hands when you're doing this, but you can do it by yourself. Slowly crank this guy in. If you want to ease the installation of this, guys, you can just gently tap here, and it will jar the thing loose and into place. You see that? Especially if it's getting kind of cattywampus, it'll help. See, the ratchet actually jumps a little bit as I do that. Watch this. See that? That's what I'm talking about, guys. I have this lower one fully seated, and we're starting to put this upper one in. Now, to get the upper one in, it comes in from the top. The positioning of it doesn't really matter because we have got the zircon top. We're going to use this cup that fits over the top and presses down on there only. We're going to use this cup that came with the kit and catch it on this side down here. That setup should work for us right there. We're up just a hair on this back side, so let's give it a tap. And another little spin. We're fully seated, guys. Okay, and then just for reference, guys, this cup doesn't even come remotely close to anything in here. So this cup works great for installing. And not to mention, if you do it the way I just did, you don't need any of the tools from the Maddox Harbor Freight press kit. You just need the actual clamp itself. So this kit does work really well to press these joints in. Now we're going to put our boots back on. This upper boot just slips right up and on and goes into place. Make sure it fits inside of the axle housing and onto the ball joint. This lower one, if you order the right part, if you order those parts that I showed, this lower one comes with an install tool. It's basically just a sleeve that fits around it. You put it on here and you push it up and on. That is all the way on. You can also tap it lightly with a hammer. There we go, guys. We are back in and together on to putting our knuckle back on. Knuckle's going back on, and I have cleaned the inside of this bore with a wire wheel. Help that hub not get rusted in there. Clean the mating surface where the hub bolts to the knuckle really well to make sure it bolts on flat and true. And I have this piece, remember? Don't forget it. The high side goes to the back, the low side goes to the front. It goes like that. Throw this up and on. Put your smaller nut on the top ball joint. I like to kind of snug it up and then get our bigger one on the bottom. We've got our torque wrench here, guys. The lower joint is going to get torqued first. It is going to get torqued to 80 foot-pounds. Now your ball joint should come with a new cotter pin. This is my favorite way to do cotter pins. I like to pull them through and bend the long end down and tap it up a little so you don't get snagged by it when you're underneath the car. And then I just cut that piece off. I'll probably bend it up a hair and then cut it. I feel like that's a really clean way to do cotter pins, guys. I like it. This upper ball joint is a 19mm socket, and it is going to get torqued to 75 foot-pounds. At 71 and my cotter pins lined up, I'm going to stop there, guys, or I'm going to blow way past it. Same thing. Cotter pin in, bend the long side down and up and around. Axle shaft back in, support it so that you don't damage that seal inside of there. Before we forget, we're going to put the speed sensor back where he goes. Getting ready to feed it back into the hub assembly. Make sure that this tip is clean. If there's any debris on it, clean it off and put some fresh dielectric grease on it. Wrap it around the O-ring a little and then load some up on this sensor tip just to kind of help keep any moisture that comes in out. Make sure that your hub assembly is pointing this way so that your sensor can go into it lives like that. And make sure that you have your backing plate. Don't leave it off. Then you just gotta clock it so that the bolt holes will go through. Okay, we're gonna tighten these wheel bearing bolts, guys. And I just give them as much as I can with that orange Loctite and this 3/8 drive ratchet that's about 1.5 feet long. Get our tie rod back in place. I'm also going to put a little blip of Loctite on this guy too. There's a thread lock nut on it, but I don't trust them. I'll just do a couple ugga-duggas with this gun. Torque spec here. Before we get our wheel and everything back on, we have our grease zerk right here for this upper joint. Some of yours won't have them. This one does. Make sure you put it in. Look at an 8mm head. I'm going to add a little bit of grease to this guy. Remember earlier on in the videos, guys, I could grab this knuckle and wiggle it? Yeah, she ain't moving now. Nice and firm. We'll hopefully keep our tires from wearing out for at least like 8,000 miles a year. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how long these hold up. Now that we've made sure that we've tightened this bolt for the wheel speed sensor, we've gotten the bolts torqued for the hub assembly to the knuckle, we've gotten the ball joint nuts torqued, we've got this tie rod in torqued. Now we need to put our rotor on and our brake caliper on, tighten this guy, and we're done. Caliper bolts are also going to get, you guessed it, high strength removable Loctite. Okay, got our caliper bolts with our orange Loctite. These 21mm caliper bolts get torqued too. Make sure that your hose isn't twisted like this and you go put it on. Make sure there's just one single little bend in it. In this instance, guys, I have a 15mm that I sacrificed, and I shaved him down skinny so he can fit down inside here and hold these tight. These caliper slide bolts on a lot of cars are 15mm, the backside. That's why I've got one already shaved down for this application. So that you can torque it down right and know that it's not going to fall out. So my extension, guys, will fit inside the fins on this rotor like that. Then when I go to start rotating this, I won't just be free spinning the rotor. Let me show you what I mean. See? Spinning, not spinning. You see it kind of wants to go on me. But we got it. We got it. Watch this. 100 foot-pounds. And then we pull this back out. We're golden, guys. We just got to put a wheel on now. We've got the wheels on. About to torque them to spec. They're just seated on right now. But even with them just lightly seated on here, you'll be able to see that we no longer have play in that ball joint. I'm pushing. Nothing. Yeah, it's fixed. Take a look. See here, I can wiggle this all I want, and I feel nice and firm in there now. Now, if you still happen to have play after doing that, you could have a bad wheel bearing as well. Not a bad idea to probably replace those depending upon your mileage or how big of a tire you have. If you're running 35s or 37s, chances are your wheel bearings probably aren't too happy either. Mine are okay for now. If I need to replace them, I will. As always, guys, I'm Nick with Hood Rats. I really hope this video helped you out. If it did, please hit the subscribe button and the like button, and stay tuned for some more content because I got lots of Jeep stuff coming. I've got Moab, I've got Sand Hollow trip planned for just about a month out, and I have a Moab video from a trip I did in October. It's February right now. I haven't even shown you guys my Moab trip yet, just getting ready for it. So I got to do a lot of editing. It's just me doing it. I've got my dad who'll do it too, but we got to jump on it. So stay tuned because I got awesome Jeep stuff coming. As always, it's Nick with Hood Rats. Peace!